I'm trying a bit of a different angle here. This webcam won't zoom in though, so you're probably seeing like my nightstand, if you want to call it that, and a bunch of other shit around my room. But today I want to talk about some of the notes that I've been taking from Anat, and how I've been kind of using what I'm learning in school or what I've learned in school in the past to try and get better at this character. She is very difficult, very unorthodox, and requires a lot more work and me having to apply myself in order to even play remotely well. And by well, I mean just not getting run down and mauled for 35 seconds and losing. I think the broader goal of the education system as I've gone through it from, elementary school all the way up to college now, I'm almost graduated. I've learned that the system is there in place to kind of help you learn how you learn things, if that makes sense, how you absorb information and how you interpret it. And that's the ultimate goal of it. It's not really, they want you to learn the material, but it's more important how you figure out how you're absorbing the material, I think. And that's made all the difference for me. And that's also helped me learn things in life besides just school. I like to learn through examples. I like to see somebody do it and then do it myself. I think that's mostly how I've learned. And so that's what I've been trying to do with Manat, using Shiv's guide that I've talked about countless times now. It's a great guide, and I want to show you some of the notes that I've taken. I've actually watched the entire thing now. It's like 4 or 5 hours long. This is definitely the most I've ever had to apply myself to a fighting game or a video game or definitely a character. This is the most that I've ever tried for probably the least results, because I'm not getting leaps and bounds better. I'm just slowly getting incremental changes, but it's fun. It's a fun challenge to do. Nonetheless. So this is my trusty little notebook here. It's just like how my notes are in school. I don't take notes very often, but when I do, it's just like this. So how I've structured it is I've kind of, you can see here, I've written down things that I think are important. I've sort of written down the category right here, and then you'll see these little stars every so often. These are things that I think are very important that I'll need to revisit, or things that I don't quite understand all the way, but I know are going to be important later on, and I'm going to have to come back to them. So let me read through some of the stars. I hope this kind of helps you figure out how you can learn a character more in depth. You don't have to do something like this to learn most characters. You don't have to do this to learn any characters, really. It just kind of helps me out, because I know there's things that I'll need to return to eventually. But I'll just read some of the stars. So the first one that I wrote is kind of embarrassing, but it's Soul Spark, what I thought was her DP motion. The one where she sort of makes the orb explode. When she sets it out, she has a move that makes the orb explode. Is not a DP motion. I thought it was a DP motion this entire time. It's actually quarter circle forward kick. I never bothered to look because the input leniency in Street Fighter V is so good. Like, I don't know if good is the term you would use, but it's so lenient that if you do a DP, you will get that move majority of the time. So that was a big, that was a big thing that I knew I needed to remember, because I was going to go back into the game and just do DP a bunch of times. The second, I also labeled them based on the video I was watching. So his guide, I think, is about, 5 parts long or 6 parts long. So basically when a new video started, you see I just changed the title here. So I kind of knew where to go back to in the video if I didn't understand something that I wrote later on, which actually has become kind of a trend for me since COVID started with school, like actual college, is sometimes I have to do this because I have to go back to certain videos that were uploaded, when we don't have class in person, or they just upload the lectures online. Sometimes I have to do that so I can go back to the right one. The stars that I wrote here, the ones that I thought were very important, were Orbless V-Skill 1 setup above them, and then you can absorb the fireball, and you can cancel her V-Skill. You can cancel that absorb into a move. You can cancel it into the Soul Spark that we talked about just now, or you can cancel it into like a recall. I didn't know that. It isn't easy though. You have to cancel on like the first available frame. It is not easy to cancel that reflect into a special move. So some people don't even do it. They just keep absorbing and gaining V-trigger. And then during the fireball game, set out the orb and just absorb. And when the orb is out there, they usually won't. If they throw another fireball, you can make it explode after you cancel off of V skill 1, or you can cancel it into recall if they start running at you. Those are really your 2 options. And I just kind of wrote in here that I just need to get a little bit more comfortable with playing without the orb, especially in the zoner matchups. And I wrote here, do the dash and the jump drill. That was the drill. I don't know if I made a video about it, but there's a drill that Shiv shows where he sets Zeku to do either a dash or he'll do a jump, like a cross-up jump, and you have to basically react to either the dash or you react to the jump. Or you can do both by just pressing jab, crouch jab, and then reacting to the jump in anyways, because you kind of have time. So it's a very helpful drill. It works on a lot of characters, and you should definitely try it. This was the combo video. This is the third video. I didn't label it here, but this part right here is all like combo filler and stuff. Stuff that I didn't write down like all the combos. I wrote down a lot of block strings that I didn't know about, and I wrote down things that comboed into each other that I didn't know about before. And also you can auto space her drill. So I wrote stand light kick, crouch light kick, crouch light punch, and you're +2 on that. You're +2 on the crouch light punch, and you can cancel that into a drill. It spaces the drill, which will leave you at +5. A lot of this stuff I wrote down and I have not implemented yet because I just haven't gotten there, you know. A lot of stuff here, just auto spacing drills. Some of the certain block strings that I wrote down need to be spaced at different spots on the screen, because if not, you'll be negative right in their face. You can use, this is the same one. You can use the crouch light punch block string to auto space an orb set or a dive kick. Just some things to note here, like very character specific things. This was my favorite page. So this is from the matchups video. He did a video where he showed how he approaches like a bunch of different types of matchups. I think he went into grapplers, he went into anti-fireball, and then characters that are zoners but don't have fireballs, like Poison, Sim. I think he even put Falk in here, and Jury sometimes when she wants to zone you with that fireball that goes on the ground. But this is definitely my favorite part. So against characters like Abigail and Mika and Geef, I think this is actually a part, if you watch a character guide and you don't want to write all this shit down, this is the part that you should pay attention to the most, is when they sort of give you a game plan for each matchup, because that's a hard thing to figure out on your own. And when somebody gives it to you, you should definitely take their advice and sort of hone in on it and make it your own, because not everybody plays the same. But this does give you a good groundwork. So against Abigail, Mika, Geef, all the grapplers, you need to keep your orb in your hand, because those characters have to struggle to get in, and the orb makes it to where they really have to fight around that wall of buttons to get in. You should only really put out the orb if they are like full screen. So if you're full screen away from each other, then you can put the orb above their head and sort of threaten them with it. So against grapplers, I think that's why she wins a lot of those matchups, is because she can keep them out with that wall of buttons, and they really do have to struggle to get in. Against anti-fireball, so this is versus Nash, Guile, Sagat, etc. You want to set the orb down like we said before, absorb the fireballs, and then if you set it above them, like I said, you can make it explode and they sort of go flying towards you. You can DP if you wanted to grab them out of the air, and you can also cancel it into a recall if they start dashing at you, which a lot of characters like Nash like to do, because he can only pretty much get around with his dash, so you got to be ready for that. And then versus Poison, Sim, Falk, Jury, you can use the drill and the orb throw to approach and get in. This is a lot easier said than done, though. I feel like Poison really does beat your ass if you you mess up a few times. She does a lot of damage, especially with her cocktail V-trigger, so you really have to be careful in that one. The rest of these were V-trigger specific ones, so this is really like the meat and potatoes when it comes to Menat, is her V-trigger, as that's where a lot of her damage comes from. Even though her neutral isn't bad, it's not terrible. I really personally need to get used to playing with the orb out more, because that's where a lot of her damage comes from outside of V-trigger. But it's inevitable that I'll need to learn that V-trigger one and everything that goes with it. So I kind of wrote down some of the stuff in here that I didn't know. So the big thing about her V-trigger that I didn't know is that if you use a special move in V-trigger, the orb will come out behind it. So that means if I do quarter circle forward medium punch, the medium punch orb comes out behind it, which means you don't have to double tap it. And also, if you do quarter circle forward medium punch, you can just tap the next button, stand heavy kick or whatever, and that orb will come out behind it. You don't actually need to double tap it, but you can if you want to be safe, or you can negative edge it. I usually only double tap or just press the button once after a special move. I'm not very good at doing the negative edge stuff yet. Sorry. The rest of this is just V-trigger combos, close range V-trigger combos, mid-range one. I only just learned the mid-range one consistently. I posted on Twitter. If you don't follow me, go check it out. I did post me actually hitting that one in a real match, but it's very situational. You have to hit it at like mid-range. You have to hit it mid-screen at a certain range with sand, medium punch, and then you can go into slide. And if all those things don't line up, it doesn't work. There is another one on here that I wrote down that does work a lot more consistently, and you'll see a lot more people using it, but I'll make a video on that in the future because it's really hard. It does use some negative edge stuff that I'm not used to yet, and it's just difficult. It's not easy, and in a game like Street Fighter V, execution is not usually a problem, but for this character it is. And then here I kind of just summarized everything that I thought was really important that I know I'll want to come back to in the future. Just reflect fireballs. Be careful. You against zoners, you need to get really good at reflecting the fireballs and doing the follow-up accordingly. Recalling after their block strings. So basically what I meant by that was when I was watching replays of like Sako playing and stuff, once he had blocked like a block string of his opponent and they were either negative or whatever, he would use that time to stick out a button and recall. So that was like a very safe time for him to recall, is after somebody's block string. I got used to using light punch orb a lot more because the range is not as far, so it doesn't just go flying behind them and getting lost in the ether, basically, right? Because once it's so far behind them that you are trying to scramble to get it back, they're at the advantage and they know it, so they'll start rushing you down. Get more comfortable playing with the orb in between you and the opponent. This is what I'm working on. I do have a video ready for this one that will probably come out soon, but essentially I've been playing with the orb in my hand too much in matchups where I don't need to, and her damage, like I said before, without V-trigger mostly comes from the orb being behind them or on top of them. So what I'm trying to do is I want to get more comfortable having that orb behind them or having that orb on top of them. That's really how I'm trying to play in matchups that aren't like Zangief or something, or like Mika or any of the grapplers. Let's see. I think that's it. I mean, there are 3-4 pages of notes, and I've been going for 10 minutes about only the things that I starred as important. Of course, I have to read through this a couple times just to remind myself. But yeah, I hope that I hope all this work pays off eventually, because it is definitely the hardest I've worked for any character and probably any game. I'm really trying to put an effort to apply myself and learn this character so I can have some more fun and provide some more fun content for you guys. But yeah, that's going to be it for today. If you enjoyed this one or if it helped you, please consider subscribing. I'd really appreciate it. And I'll talk to you again soon.